Hello, everybody. Looks like we are live now. We already have some people who are introducing themselves in the comments. So we have Juan 6000, and he says, hello, greetings from Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome, welcome. So go ahead as you are coming into the chat. Please introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know your name, where you're from. We definitely want to shout you out and acknowledge you. And if you do have a business, which I'm assuming if you're here, you have a business or you're about to start one, go ahead and drop the link to your business website, because we definitely want to know what type of business you have, what you do, how we can support you. We want to use the comments not only to ask questions and introduce ourselves, but also for us to network and meet one another. So feel free to hop in there. I said we have 5 people on so far. I know we're streaming to YouTube, so I know a lot of times there's a delay. So again, as you're coming in, feel free to introduce yourself. We have Yolanda from Lafayette. I believe that's Indiana. So welcome, Yolanda. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the comments. If you have a business, share your website. If you're joining us on the replay, you're welcome to do this in the comments as well, because even if you're watching the replay, we can definitely still use the comments as a space to get to know one another. So we have Matthew from Washington, D.C. Welcome. And we want to give a few minutes. I just sent a text out. So some of you are joining just because you probably got a text a couple of seconds ago. So go ahead and join us. If you have any friends that were supposed to join us tonight, send them the link so they can join us live as well. And then if they're not able to, go ahead and have them register and they can still get the replay. So people have until 9 o'clock tonight to register to get the replay as well. So they can definitely do that if they cannot join us live. So let me make sure. I believe that, yep, looks like that message went out to everyone. So everyone who registered just got a message. We have 9 people in. I know sometimes people are watching while they're driving, or, you're not in a position to really participate in the comments. So that is okay. But if you are able to, definitely introduce yourself. And I'll give it 1 more minute, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Yes. And again, don't forget, drop your business websites. If you have a business website, feel free to share that as well. We want to get to know you. We definitely want you guys to be having conversations with one another in the live stream. So use that comment section. And I think, Yolanda, you've been to one of the other sessions. I feel like I remember your name. So you kind of know, we have a lot of conversation in the comments. So definitely want you to take advantage of that. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to everyone who is joining us live and on the replay. This is, I have lost count of what session of the Business and Wellness series. We are about 8 weeks almost into the series. And for the past couple of months, each month, we've been talking to 2 to 3 subject matter experts who share a number of different types of information with us around self-care, wellness, and business. And part of the reason why I wanted to start this series is because a lot of you are from my networking group, the Atlanta Business Strategy Group. And we initially were meeting virtually for our meetings every month. And we would meet in person. If you're just joining, or if this is your first time seeing me, I'm from Atlanta. And we were meeting in person, and we're not able to do that because of COVID. So I was really thinking a lot about how I could pivot our networking experiences for people so that we were getting value and we were able to meet with one another. In addition to that, through my business, Angel Mills Brand Strategy, I also do a number of workshops in person and online for small business owners who are interested in growing their audience using digital marketing. So, I also have a lot of people in that community. And so I thought that this series would be a great opportunity to have amazing conversation about being a whole entrepreneur, but also for us to network and connect and kind of bridge those 2 groups together. So, I'm going to go ahead and start by introducing our guest. So we have a lovely guest with us today. So a lot of you, this has been the most popular topic for our series so far. So I am so excited about that. As you know, we're going to talk about how to start building business credit. And our speaker today is LaToya Jackson. LaToya is originally from Cleveland, Ohio. So I know we had some folks from Ohio. I'm also an original Midwesterner. I'm originally from Detroit. So if there's any Midwesterners in the house, feel free to drop down in the comments. Let us know where you're from. But LaToya graduated from Ohio State University in 2004 with a BS in business administration. With her marketing degree, she brings 16 years of business-to-business sales with Fortune 500 companies such as Philip Morris and Michelin Tire Company. In addition, she has experience in the real estate industry where she did more than $1.4 million in real estate sales. After relocating to Chicago, LaToya began to invest in real estate to include fix and flips, rentals, mid-use commercial, wholesale deals, and Airbnb. It was at this time that she realized the need to secure funding. This journey then led to the birth of Excel Capital Group. LaToya is the founder and CEO of Excel Capital Group, which provides business credit and funding solutions for entrepreneurs looking for funding to start, grow, and scale their businesses. In 2018, LaToya was inducted into the 40 Under 40 Young Women's Professional League and was selected among 200 women in the Chicagoland area. Her future goals include expanding Excel Capital Group to a full-service wealth management. In her spare time, she enjoys networking with other professionals, like right now, reading and spending time with family and friends. So if you don't do it right now, but if you are watching on the replay or you have a chance to, after this conversation, check out the check out the description for this video. You will see all the contact information there. Where you can find LaToya, where she is online, her social media sites, and all of those things. So go ahead. She also has, she's a little bit cut off. I see your Instagram name is a little bit cut off, LaToya, but go ahead. Her links for her sites are in the description. So go ahead and give her a follow if you want to keep up with what she's doing and get more financial tips. So welcome, LaToya. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so happy to have you. And it's like I told you earlier, this is a super popular conversation. Like people have been messaging me about, I signed up for my business credit. When is the business credit? I saw the business credit. When was happening? So it's been getting a lot of buzz.
Yes. It's a very, very important topic, especially during this time. So awesome.
Well, absolutely. And I think one of the reasons, yay, I think we have a little bit of a delay, but yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about this and have you come speak to the group is because a lot of people were attempted to get funding and maybe they were able to do so, or maybe they were not for their businesses during COVID because there were a number of different funding opportunities available. And come to find out, a lot of us needed business credit to be able to qualify for those opportunities. And some of us, unfortunately, were not able to get them. And Black entrepreneurs specifically made up an abysmal portion of the amount of people who were awarded different grant and loan funds during the quarantine period. So I think it's so important that we're having the conversation. And without further ado, I want us to get started. One housekeeping thing I do want to go over before LaToya starts her presentation is questions. So if you do have questions during the presentation, feel free to ask them in the comments. Periodically, LaToya is going to answer them. So she will answer questions during the conversation. So, and I'll hop back on, go ahead and put them in the comments and I'll hop back on and share the questions so LaToya can address them. All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm extremely happy to be here and talk to everyone today. So welcome. I am going to share my presentation and we will go ahead and get started. Okay, so today we're going to talk about building business credit with your EIN and not your Social Security number. So here are the topics that we're going to discuss. So I'm going to give you an introduction of my background. We're going to talk a little bit about funding, what's going on with capital and the economy right now. We'll talk about what is business credit and why it's so important to have it. Then from there, we'll talk about the 2 different ways that you can obtain business credit. And we'll talk about the 4 tiers to obtaining business credit when you're building it with your EIN. I'm also going to talk to you or show you how big businesses use business credit to grow and scale their business. And I'm also going to give you some examples of how you can leverage it to either grow your business or build generational wealth. And so if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. So this is me. My name is LaToya Jackson. I am not related to the Jacksons. I get that question every single day of my life. But I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and I did graduate from The Ohio State University. Growing up, I came from very humble beginnings. I grew up very poor. I was raised by a single mother. My father passed away when I was 2 years old from cancer. And it was a bit of a challenging upbringing. You know, I didn't have any entrepreneurs in the family, no business owners, no real estate investors, nobody owned a home. And so I really just set out on this journey to have a better life. And so when I went to college, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Have you guys read that book? I'm sure you have. But that introduced me to real estate. And I said to myself, I would love to get into real estate because I knew nothing about it at the time. And I'm like, I'm a poor college student. I have no idea how I'm going to actually get into real estate while I'm still struggling in college. But anyways, I ended up getting a business degree. And I bring that up because you would think that when you have a business degree that they would talk about funding. They would talk about business credit. And they don't talk about that at a business program at a university. And that's, you know, one of the top reasons why entrepreneurs fail is because of funding. And you would think that we would have courses on that. We have courses on finance and accounting, but no courses on funding or fundraising for your business. And so after I graduated, I worked in sales, outside sales, for the last 15 years. So, you know, I took my first job out of college working at Philip Morris. Then I moved on to Michelin, the tire company, doing outside sales to car dealerships. And that took me from Ohio to DC. And then when I moved to the DC area, I finally said, I'm going to invest in real estate. That's when I finally got the courage and the nerve to do it. So I went to real estate school, got my license, and I worked with Long & Foster realtors, and I was helping a lot of investors. And I would go to the closing table. I would look at the HUD-1, and I would see my commission, which would be like, you know, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 that I would have to split with my broker. And then I'm looking at the investor portion, and he's walking away with a check for, you know, $50,000. And so it was at that moment that I decided that I wanted to be on that side of the transaction. I want to be an investor. I don't want to just be the agent helping you find these properties, you know, and getting a small commission while you're getting a huge profit. So my job ended up relocating me from the DC area to the Chicago area. And when I moved here, I decided not to go back and get my real estate license. You know, once you transfer states, you have to go back to school and get your license again. And I just said, no, I want to learn how to be an investor. And so I started partnering with people. I got educated. I went to workshops, seminars, read books, and finally decided to take action. And so in a 5-year period, I raised over $2 million to do real estate deals. I've done everything from, you know, rental properties, buy and hold, fix and flips, mixed use commercial, did some Airbnbs as well, in addition to fix and flips. And so out of that $2 million, $350,000 of that was business credit. And then some of that was personal credit. Some of that was traditional financing. Other parts of it was 401ks and IRAs. Also partner with hard money lenders to do real estate deals. Also raise capital with investors. And so I learned a lot about funding. And in real estate, you have to know about the various types of funding if you want to continue to acquire more deals. And so one day I went to a women's empowerment event, and there was an entrepreneur there, and she raised her hand and she asked this question. She said, what is a DUNS number, and how can I use that to get funding for my business? And so there was a CPA that was there, and the CPA said, Oh, you don't need a DUNS number. You just have to have a 720 credit score. You have to be in business 2 years. You have to have 250,000 in revenue. You have to have business returns. You have to have personal tax returns. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you want a loan for over $25,000, you're going to have to pledge collateral. And so I knew that that was not 100% true. I had been in business 2 months and I got $40,000 in business credit. I wasn't in business 2 years. I did not have any business revenues. I definitely didn't make 250,000 a year. And I'm just like, okay, if you go to a bank, then yes, that is true. But there are other lenders out here who will help you get funding for your business. So whether you're a startup entrepreneur, whether you're real estate investors, there are other lenders out here outside of banks that can help you get access to capital. And so that's why I decided to start Excel Capital Group. It is my way to educate entrepreneurs, regardless of what industry they're in, and let them know about the funding opportunities that's available to them. And so basically at Excel Capital Group, I help entrepreneurs get funding, and I help them do that in 2 ways. The first way is to help them obtain financing. So if you're looking for business credit cards, if you're looking for business term loans or lines of credit, that's something that my company can assist you with. As long as you meet the requirements, you can get up to $250K in 15 days. Now, if you're a newer entrepreneur, that could be up to $150K. And again, that's based on certain requirements. So if you're interested in obtaining financing, you can go to our website and schedule a consultation. The other way that we help entrepreneurs get funding for their business is by teaching them how to build business credit with their EIN. And so we have programs to show entrepreneurs how to do that and how they can use that as capital in their business. So I just want to take a moment and talk about following us on social media. So we are on all social media platforms. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel. We're also on LinkedIn. And you can also join our email list by going to excelcapitalgroupllc.com. So on our social media platforms, I educate entrepreneurs on all types of funding opportunities. Maybe there's a new grant that came out that you weren't aware of. Maybe you needed to know more about the SBA programs. Maybe you wanted to know more about other capital. Maybe you wanted to know more about building business credit. And so if you join our email list, I send a newsletter out once a week with funding opportunities. So you're up to date on the various grants that's available, but also for other funding opportunities as well. So be sure to follow us on social media. I believe that the links are going to be put in the comment section. Okay, so let's talk about funding. All right. How do entrepreneurs currently get funding for their business today? So don't be shy. Put your comments into the chat box. If you are starting a business, how do you typically fund it when you first start? All right. So most business owners, they use personal funding to fund their business, right? 75% of entrepreneurs get funding from family and friends, right? Most people use their own personal credit cards, their own savings, their retirement, or their own personal loans. They're pretty much using personal funding to fund their business. And on top of that, 9 out of 10 people, they don't even know what business credit is and what it can do for their business, right? So you guys know this, right? What are the 3 C's to getting access to capital, right? If you go to a bank, they either want cash flow, they want to know revenue, credit, they want you to have a high personal credit score, or collateral. You have to have at least 2 or 3 of these in order to get loans from traditional financing sources, right? But what if I told you you can get access to capital without having any of these? Okay, so that's what business credit is about. And I'm going to talk about that in much more detail. So let's talk about capital. Let's talk about funding in general before this pandemic happened, right? 29% of businesses fail because they ran out of money. 30% of businesses fail because they run out of money. Over 90% of bank loans are denied. So many financial institutions, whether they're private or public, they're going to require collateral, right? Because most businesses fail. So it's becoming a lot harder for new investors and entrepreneurs to get access to capital, especially when they don't have any experience. So now let's talk about the pandemic. 2020 hits, right? We had the economic impact from this coronavirus, right? Millions of small businesses were forced to close or may close permanently as a result of this. A lot of companies filed for bankruptcy, 48% in May. Then we had 50 million people who filed for unemployment, right? And so the stay-at-home orders, they affected all businesses in all industries. Didn't matter if it was hospitality, travel, sports, retail, everything was shut down. So then on top of that, right, we had the protests from the death of George Floyd, right? There were some peaceful protests, but there was also some violent protests, right? And so that also had an effect on many businesses who were trying to recover, right, and to reopen. And so with all of this going on, businesses have challenges getting bank loans and capital at this time, right? And so a lot of them didn't have insurance during this period if their business was affected. So because of the protests and because of the pandemic, business owners need capital more than ever. And so here was the government solution, right? They came up with the $2.2 trillion emergency relief bill that Trump signed back in March, right? They came up with $350 billion in the form of paycheck protection and the EIDL, right? And so in 2 weeks, that money ran out, right? So think about it. You got 30 million businesses across the US, right? And half of them are blaming their revenue decline on this pandemic. SBA only approved 1.6 million loans, right? It's 30 million businesses and only 1.6 million got loans. So that's only 6% of small businesses who actually got funding for recovery, right? And on top of that, 75 were publicly traded companies worth over $100 million who cashed in on the first bill when it rolled out, right? And they did roll it out a second time, but here's where we are today. The EIDL loan is no longer available. Remember when you first applied, you get $10,000 and then they changed it to $1,000 per employee. But yeah, in June, that's gone. Payroll protection just ended last month. So a lot of these companies did not get access to funding. Some of them did, but some of them do not. And so my question to you is, do you have a contingency plan in place if you were not able to get access to this funding, right? So I just want you to think about this pandemic and some of the key takeaways from entrepreneurs during this time, right? When will the government ever give you $10,000 without asking all of these requirements, right? And you had entrepreneurs who were not even prepared or set up correctly to take advantage of this free money. So some entrepreneurs either didn't have their company set up or they had the wrong entity set up. Some entrepreneurs didn't have their tax returns done. They couldn't even apply for payroll protection, didn't have their bookkeeping done, didn't have their profit and loss statements or their cash flow. A lot of entrepreneurs didn't have insurance during this time. And some entrepreneurs waited too long, right? When the bill first came out, you could get $10,000, right? But if you waited, they changed it to $1,000 per employee, right? And so we are slow to react sometimes. And then we found out that the big banks didn't really cater to small businesses. It was actually the small credit unions and other processors like Lendio, Divvy, PayPal, and Square. Those were the companies who catered to small businesses. I had a lender partner who would not even accept your application unless you were doing $40,000 a month in payroll, because you get 2.5 times that and they get a percentage of that for processing the loan. So if you were not even a big company, they wouldn't even move your application up, even though they were supposed to come, first serve, right? We've also learned that as entrepreneurs, we need to have additional sources of income, right? If you are a barber and cutting hair is the only way that you feed your family, what did you do when the stay-at-home order took place, right? So this has taught us that even if our main cash cow brings in a ton of revenue, we still need to have other sources of income to stay afloat, right? And then we also learned that credit and cash flow is king. So there are entrepreneurs who, if you still have great credit and you still have great cash flow, you can still get access to capital, right? But more than ever, more entrepreneurs need access to capital. So again, I'm going to ask you guys the question. Do you have a contingency plan in place if you were not awarded these funds, or if you did get it and it wasn't enough? So what I'm here to tell you is that you can build business credit with your EIN that's not linked to you personally, which means you do not have to do a personal credit check and you do not have to do a personal guarantee. So sometimes, even when you personally can't qualify for something, your business can, and that's not going to require cash flow or collateral requirements. Okay, so here's how I want you to think about business credit. it's really, really critical for your business to have it. I want you to see it as having access to multiple lifelines of liquidity available whenever your company needs it. So if you needed it during this pandemic, if you needed it for inventory, to expand, to invest in marketing, you can tap into it, right? A lot of entrepreneurs wish they could tap into something during this pandemic and they couldn't. So any questions so far before we get into what business credit is and why it's so important? Okay, and we will move forward. Okay, so what is business credit? Business credit is simply credit that's obtained in a business name. Okay, so with business credit, the business will build its own profile and its own score. So just like on the personal side, you have your credit profile. Your profile is all of the trade lines, right? You got a mortgage, you got a car note, you got student loans, credit cards. That's your profile, everything that shows up on there. You're going to create that with your business, with trade lines. And once you have those trade lines, your business will have a business credit score. Okay, on the business side, it's called a paydex score, and the scoring goes from 1 to 100. You want to get an 80. An 80 paydex score is equivalent to a 720 on the personal side. Okay, so once your business establishes its profile with trade lines and establish the business credit score, then the business will qualify for credit on its own. Okay, and business credit scores are based on the business owner's ability to pay their company invoices, right? On the personal side, your personal score is consistent of what? Inquiries, mix of credit, utilization, right? That doesn't matter on the business side. On the business side is how fast you pay your company invoices. That's it, right? So when the business qualifies for credit, then you don't have to use a personal guarantee, okay? All right, so why is it so important? It's important because someday or at some point, you're going to have to purchase funds on credit or purchase goods on credit or use funds outside of what you have. You may run out of what you have. And so if you want to continue to grow and scale and build your business, you're going to need access to more capital, right? Or you're going to need to buy some things on credit. And another thing I want to tell you is that business credit scores and ratings, they basically determine whether organizations want to do business with you. So with business credit scores, it's public record. Everybody can see it, right? It's not like the personal side where you have to give someone your social security number and give them permission to pull your credit report. It doesn't work like that on the business side. On the business side, anybody can look you up at any time. They can pay the $40 fee and they can look you up. So you want to be able to see what they're looking at to determine whether they want to do business with you. So business credit is a track record. It's really a track record of a business's financial responsibility that companies look at, investors look at, financial organizations look at. They use your business credit report to determine whether or not you're a good candidate to lend money to or to do business with. An example that I always give is the government, right? Let's say that you have started a business and you want to compete for some government job or government bids. And the government is going to look up your business credit report. They don't want to award the job to you and you can't pay your company invoices. So they're going to look up your business credit report as part of their due diligence. So what do they see if you didn't set it up, right? So you don't know how much money you're missing out on by not even having your profile and your score. All right. A lot of banks, sometimes when they're determining what businesses they want to work with, they might tell their banker, hey, pull a list of all the businesses that have an 80 paydex score or higher. You don't even know that your company was eliminated because you don't even have a score. So again, you don't know how many opportunities you're missing out on by not establishing your business credit. All right. So another reason why it's important is because there are a lot of companies out here that are not set up the correct way, and that's going to not allow them to have access to capital. And I give this example. I had an entrepreneur come up to me earlier this year. They told me they bring in about $10,000 a month in revenue. And she said, can I get, capital for my business? I said, absolutely. And so I just asked her a few questions. I said, do you have your business revenue going to a business bank account? She said no. I said, do you have your EIN set up? She says no. I said, do you have your entity set up? She said, oh, I didn't get around to that yet. Well, you don't qualify. Do you know how many opportunities you just missed out on it because you're not set up the correct way? So it's not just about setting yourself up for business credit. It's all types of opportunities. I just won a grant. Literally just won a grant last week, and they wanted what? Your entity, your EIN, your business bank statements, your business tax returns. If you don't have those things in place, you don't know how many opportunities you're missing out on. Okay, so a lot of small business owners, they don't know what they don't know, and so they don't realize that they are missing out on opportunities, and I don't want you to leave any money on the table. So I'm going to tell you the 5 reasons why I absolutely love business credit. Okay, reason number 1, doesn't require a personal credit score or personal guarantee. So let me explain that. So let's say on the personal side, you don't have a great personal credit score. Let's say that maybe you went through a divorce, right? And that, has affected your personal credit report. Maybe you were in a hospital, got sick, or was in a car accident for several months and unable to pay your bills that have resulted in a low score. Maybe you had a judgment. Maybe you had a lien. Maybe you had a foreclosure. Maybe you had a bankruptcy, right? On the business credit side, they don't see any of that. So it doesn't matter. It's like a fresh start. So that's one of the number 1 reasons why I love it, is because if you have some challenges on the personal side, they don't look at that. Right? Your company, your entity is separate from you. All right. The next reason why I love business credit is because you typically get higher limits on the business side with better rates. So let's say that Chase gave you a personal credit card and they give you a card for $5,000. Well, on the business side, they can give you a card for $50,000. Okay. Because they know that you're a business. They know that you need access to more capital because you're running a business. So you typically get higher limits and better rates. The other reason why I love business credit is because it doubles your purchase power. So like the example I just gave you, if Chase gave you $5,000 in a personal card and $50,000 on a business card, you now have $55,000 to play with, right? Whereas if you're just doing things on a personal side, you're limited. And the other thing that I love about business credit is that the business credit score is based on how fast you pay your company invoices. It's not based on utilization. So I give this example. You got 2 types of entrepreneurs during this pandemic. You got some that's going to use their personal credit cards to pay their business expenses, right? So even though the business might have shut down, you may still have utilities. You may still have, insurance, mortgage, rent, whatever. You still have expenses, even though revenue is not coming in. And some entrepreneurs are going to use their business credit cards to pay those things. Other business owners are going to use business credit. Why? Because on the personal side, if you max out those cards, right, what's going to happen? Your score is going to drop, right? Your utilization goes up, and then lenders don't want to give you money, right? Lenders don't give you money when you need it. They give money to those who don't need it, right? So once you max out those cards, you're done. It doesn't work like that on the personal side. On the personal side, you can max out those cards, okay? And it's not going to drop your score 100 points. Right? I use business credit in real estate. We used to use business credit to do the renovation for our properties. So a subcontractor or a general contractor, they accept business credit cards as a form of payment. I could also get materials from Home Depot, right? And I got that at 0% interest for like 6 to 12 months. So I knew that I was going to max out my business credit cards because I was using it to do my rehabs. Right? And my business credit score didn't drop as a result like it does on the personal side. So that's another reason why I love business credit, is because your utilization, is not going to make your score drop significantly like it does on the personal side. Okay. So once the business, establishes a profile, trade lines, and a score, then the business can secure lines of credit, lease equipment, finance a company car. You can get a company car with your EIN that you didn't have to personally guarantee. You can obtain business loans and lines of credit without putting your personal credit at risk. So these are the top 5 reasons why I love business credit. All right. And before we get into this next section, are there any questions or comments so far? I'm just asking because I can't see the comments unless.
So I don't see any questions in the comment section thus far. If you do, I did put a message in there. So if you do have any questions, please ask them. And yeah, I think we can keep moving forward.
Perfect. Okay. In this next section, we're going to talk about how do you get access to capital without the 3 C's. Remember, I was telling you earlier, when it comes to capital, you typically need cash flow, credit, or collateral. Most of the time, you need 2 out of 3 in order to get funding, especially from a bank. But let's talk about it when it relates to business credit. Okay. So business credit, how do you get that without cash flow? When you're applying for business credit, they don't look at your financials. They don't look at bank statements. Okay. Banks will do that. So even if you have no cash flow, you're a startup, you can still get approved for business credit, okay? They also don't look at tax returns either, all right? So even if you show a loss or you don't show a huge revenue, you can still get approved through business credit, okay? So you don't have to worry about not having any cash flow. Now, the next thing is credit. Can you obtain business credit without personal credit? Yes. Okay, like I mentioned to you earlier, you can have bad personal credit and still get approved for business credit because you're separating the business from you personally and establishing a profile and trade lines and score on its own. So business credit is perfect for businesses that don't have any financials to show, right? So again, even if you have a small net profit, which is what lenders and investors look most at, you can still get business credit. And last is collateral. So most business lending requires collateral. And this is because most businesses fail, right? The risk of repayment that is lent out is very high. And so a lot of conventional banks and lenders, they make it really, really hard for you to get money. I mean, their job really is to deny you, not really approve you because they are assessing risk. And so this is why the SBA, not talking about the EIDL and the payroll protection, before all of that, typically the SBA would ask you to pledge personal or business assets as collateral against the loan because most businesses fail within the first 2 years. So business credit is a way for you to get access to capital without providing collateral to offset the risk. They're not going to ask you for collateral. All right. And so now I want to talk to you about the 2 ways to get business credit. Okay, there are 2 ways to get business credit. There's a fast way and there's a slow way. The fastest way to get business credit, if you look on the left-hand side, is to utilize a great personal credit score. So remember when I was telling you earlier, I got $40,000 and I was only in business for 2 months and I hadn't had any revenue yet? It was because I had a 700 credit score. Okay, if you have a 700 credit score across all 3 credit bureaus and you have a strong profile means no bankruptcies, no foreclosures, no liens, no judges, no collections. Then you can get up to $250K in 15 days in the form of business credit cards. Okay, with business credit cards, you normally get an introductory rate of 0% interest, anywhere from 6 to 12 months. I've seen it go as long as 15 months. Okay, and the great thing about it is you don't have to be seasoned. So that means that you don't have to be in business 2 years. You don't have to have business revenue. You don't have to have business tax returns. You don't have to pledge collateral. You can be a day-old business and get business credit cards. So as long as you have a 700 score across all 3 credit bureaus and you have a strong profile, the profile is more important than the score, then you can get business credit cards in 2 weeks. And so that's how I got it. And that's how I used it to help me with renovating my real estate deals. And so that's one way to get business credit cards. It'll be in your business name. It will report to the Business Credit Bureau. However, you use your personal credit score to get it. So if you use your personal credit score, it will show up on your personal credit report if you default. So if you don't keep it in good standing, if you let it go to collections, then that's when it'll show up on your personal credit report. But if you keep it in good standing, it'll report to the business credit bureaus and you'll be just fine. The other way to get business credit normally comes in a business line of credit or a business term loan. Now, this is more traditional like the bank. That's when they want you to have $250K in revenue a year. That's when you can get a business checkbook line of credit. They want you to have at least a 670 score or higher, be in business 2 years, have $250K plus in revenue. Now, when you're dealing with the bank, even though they give you a business loan, you're still personally guaranteeing it. And so again, you default, it'll show up on your personal credit report. It's a loan in your business name that you personally guarantee. Okay. So that is how to get business credit utilizing your personal credit score. That's one way to do it. That's the fastest way to do it. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the right-hand side. The right-hand side is the slower route. It's how do you get business credit with your EIN and not pledging your social security number, okay? This way does not require a personal credit check. It does not require a personal guarantee. And if you follow the steps, you do it in the right order, then the business can qualify for business credit cards on its own that you don't have to personally guarantee. It can qualify for loans and lines of credit in your company name, okay? So let me know if there's any questions, but I'm going to break this down a little bit further.
I think that we did get a couple of questions. So one is from Average Black Girl, and she asks, what can you do now besides Uline to build business credit? So is that what you're going to also cover in this next point, right?
We'll talk a little bit about that. Yes. Uline is one of the vendors that you can establish a trade line with to build business credit, but there's many others. That Uline is a part of tier 1, and there are 4 tiers to building business credit, and I'm just now getting ready to get into that.
Okay. And then the second question, someone is like, you can really get a company car with business credit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just did a training on my Facebook page. So if you go to Excel Capital Group on Facebook, I have videos there about all different types of topics as it relates to business credit. So that's the one I did last Friday on all of the ways that you can use business credit. So I have a lot of videos, what's a DUNS number, you know, I talk about all of that, but I specifically did a video on the many ways that you can use it. And yes, you can get a company car with your EIN that you don't have to personally guarantee. However, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to go to level 4 to obtain that.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put a link to that class in the description, if that's okay. And then after we're done here, you can go ahead and go over to the Excel Capital Facebook page to check some of that information out.
Yes. So there's videos on all the various ways that you can use business credit.
Awesome.
So just to recap, when you're building business credit with your social security number, when you're when you're doing a personal guarantee, you can get those business credit cards or business loans in 2 weeks. Now, if you're doing the slower route, if you're building it with your EIN, when you're not pledging your personal credit score, there are 4 levels to building business credit. So I want you to pay attention to this arrow here. If you got a 700 score and a great profile, you skip to level 4 in 2 weeks. If you don't do it that way, it can take months. Okay? You can't go past go. You can't collect $200. There are 4 tiers to building business credit, and I'm about to talk to you about the levels. But the fastest way to get it is if you use your personal credit score. Okay? The other way, I'm about to break that down. Okay. So there are 4 tiers to building business credit. The first tier is credibility. Credibility is making sure you look like a big business, even though you're not. Okay, is making sure that you have all of your things set up correctly so that when you apply for tier 1 vendor credit, which one of the trade lines is Quill, when you apply for tier 1 vendor credit, you get approved. So in credibility, you want to make sure, do you have your EIN set up? Do you have your entity set up? Do you have your business bank account set up, right? We go through all of those steps to make sure that you're set up. And let me give you an example of why this is so important. Let's say that you have a company and it's called 5 Star Inc. And that's the company that you have registered on the Secretary of State's website. Well, if you go to the 411 directory and you have it spelled 5 Star Incorporated, that's an automatic denial from business credit lender. So small things like that matter. If you don't have the period, if you got site written out on Secretary of State and you got it abbreviated on 411, that's an automatic denial. Okay, so you want to look like a big business, even though you're not. And that's not very expensive to do. But I want you to start thinking of yourself as a big company. Look at Walmart. Look at Target. Are you ever going to see them with the wrong logo? Are you ever going to see their headquarter address spelled incorrectly? No. Right? And so as a small business owner, we have to do the same thing. We have to look like a big business in our lender's eyes, right? Even a website. A lot of lenders don't even take you seriously as a business if you don't have a website. It could be janky. It can be ugly. It could be one page. But if you have one, you are seen as a more legitimate business than a business who does not. Okay? So The first step is credibility, making sure that everything is set up correctly so you get automatic approvals. The next step in building business credit is applying for vendor credit, tier 1 vendor credit. So she asked the question about Quill or Uline, right? You're going to start off with smaller vendors, right? These small vendors will approve you as long as you are set up correctly on the Secretary of State's website in the 411 directory. They will approve you without looking at your personal credit report. Okay. But you're going to start off with small credit first, and you're going to work your way up to the bigger accounts. So your first account might be a $500 trade line, might be a $1,000 trade line, right? It's because you haven't proven yourself. You got a brand new business with no trade lines. You know, they're testing you out to make sure that you can handle the debt that you're about to take on. And so I want you to look at building business credit like school, right? How you have elementary school, then you have middle school, then you have high school, then you have college, right? And after college, you're supposed to make more money to pay off your student loans. Business credit works the same way. Start off with the smaller credit, work your way to the middle tier credit, work your way to the next tier credit. When you get to tier 4, that's when you can play ball. That's when you can get access to funding. So tiers 1, 2, and 3, you're looking at vendor credit, you're looking at retail credit, you're looking at store credit, then you're working your way up to level 4. 4 is revolving business credit card. So that's when you can get the MasterCards or the Visas or the American Express that your business qualified for on its own and not you personally. Okay, you work your way up to that. That's also where the car lenders are. So if you want to get a company car with your EIN, if you want to lease some company cars, that's all in tier 4. So the key to building business credit is to, one, you got to know the order in which to build business credit in, because if you jump from 2 to 4, you're getting denied. The next thing you need to know are the vendors. 97% of vendors don't report to the Business Credit Bureau, and they don't do it because it costs too much for them to report your payment history. So a lot of them simply don't do it. So you need to know the 3% of companies that do, right? She mentioned Quill or Uline. Yes, they are some companies that report, but you need to know who these vendors are and who they report to, because not all of them report to each Business Credit Bureau. Okay, so you need to know the order, you need to follow the order, and you need to know what vendors to work with. So business credit is a process where business funding is the goal. You're working your way up to establish these trade lines so that you can qualify for loans and lines in your company name. Same thing on the personal side, right? You might not get approved for a house right away, right? They want to see that you've been able to maintain some level of debt. Maybe you had a car note, maybe you had, some student loans, right? They're judging you. If we give you this loan, can you pay it based on past creditors that you work with? The same way on the business side. You are establishing your business as a legitimate business, and you have proven through your business credit report that you can handle the debt and that you should be getting approved for business loans at favorable rates. So does that make sense? So business credit is the process and business funding is the goal. Any questions or comments so far?
Sorry, I was muted. We did get one question from Dolores. Hi, Dolores. She's actually going to be speaking to the group on October 4th. Mm-hmm. So Dolores had a question. Are there any loan differences between Inc. and LLC? So incorporated and LLC, and what are they?
Are there any differences between the entities?
I think she means if you're registered, like as far as if you register a business as an LLC versus an corporation, how that works.
Great question. So it's best to build business credit as an entity that is separate from you personally. So those entities include S Corp, C Corp, and LLCs. So if you're an S Corp, a C Corp, or an LLCs, those are the best types of companies to build business credit with. If you are a sole proprietor or a general partnership, can you still build business credit? Yes, but it's not ideal. And let me tell you why. Because with those entities, you haven't separated yourself from your business. So let's say you're a sole proprietorship. Let's say you're a hairstylist. You got your company set up under your social security number. Let's say someone decides to sue you. Maybe you did a relaxer and their hair fall out. Whatever it is, right? That person, that client can, because you didn't set up an entity that protects you, that client can sue your business and sue you personally for whatever assets is in your name. All right. The whole part of building business credit is to separate you personally from your business. And the only way to do that is with a C Corp, an S Corp, or an LLC. Now, I do advise that you speak with an attorney to figure out the best entity for your business and for your industry. You want to be protected from a tax and a legal standpoint. But a sole proprietorship and a general partnership does not offer you the same protection. So the first step in building business credit and credibility is setting yourself up the correct way, but also when you look like a big business, you're not tied to you personally, right? You think the CEO of Sam's Club is going in and personally guaranteeing loans? No, he's doing it based on the business's the health of the business and not him personally. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes. And I had a question. I had a question regarding the name. There was something you mentioned about putting, not having your name correctly, the way you have registered in other places. So Dolores also said thank you. So I think that clarified for her question. So my question was, say you're such and such LLC, right? Do you have to include the LLC in your title? Like if for business purposes or for marketing purposes, you decide to drop the LLC, would that possibly penalize your ability to be able to get some of this funding?
Okay.
Or some of this credit, rather.
I get it. 2 answers to that question. When you're building business credit, you're building it in your entity name. Now, can you have a DBA doing business? Absolutely. However, when you're building business credit, you're building it in your entity name. So let's use the 5-Star Inc. or the 5-Star LLC. That name has to match on the Secretary of State's website, on the 411 directory, and also your address. If those things match, you will easily get approved. If they don't, then you could possibly get denied. Now, if you want to have a separate name that you're doing business as, I would just set up a DBA.
Okay. And for those, that's a doing business as. So, okay.
Every state has different procedures on how you establish that. So you would have to look that up for your state. I know here in Illinois, when I did mine, you had to publish your assumed name in a newspaper for 3 weeks. And if nobody claimed it, then they gave it to you. But every single state is different. So you have to look up the procedure in your state in order to set up a DBA for your entity.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. I think that's all the questions for now.
Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about is the business credit reports. So 45% of small business owners didn't know they had a business credit score. 72% didn't know where to find it. And the vast majority of business owners don't know how to interpret the score. Okay, so it's a lot of people that don't understand it. So I'm about to break down the difference between personal and business and talk about these scores, okay, and how a little bit about how you can interpret them. So on the personal side, these are the 5 factors, right, that make up your personal credit score, right? 35% is payment history, whereas on the business side, that's like 100%. All right, so personal side, 35% is payment history, 15% is length of credit history, 10% is, type of credit used, 10% is new inquiries, 30% is amounts owed, right? And the credit score ranges from 300 to 850. Now, let's go on the business credit side. Business credit scores go from 0 to 100. And remember, I was telling you before, 80 is the business score that you want. So there are 3, actually there's 4, but there's 3 major business credit reporting agencies. So on the personal side, you have what? TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. On the business side, you have Dun & Bradstreet, you have Experian, and you have Equifax. There is a 4th one called CreditSafe, but they're not as big as the big 3, okay? So with Dun & Bradstreet, their business credit score is called a Paydex score. That score ranges from 0 to 100. And your score determines or is based upon how fast you pay your company bills. So let me give you an example, right? Let's say you get a trade line with Quill. Let's say they give you a net 30. Basically, you're buying on credit, meaning you purchase something, they ship it to you, and in 30 days, you got to pay the bill, right? You're buying it on credit. If you pay that bill within 30 days, you will get a good business credit score, all right? But here's something I want you to know. Some people will say, get a Dun & Bradstreet number and, get a DUNS number, get something set up with Dun & Bradstreet, and you're good to go. No, you have to set up business credit with each business credit bureau because lenders look at each one for different things. So I don't want you to only have trade lines that report to Dun & Bradstreet. You need trade lines that report to all. Let me show you why. On this far right, lenders use the Dun & Bradstreet business credit report to evaluate the payment terms they want to extend to your business. Meaning, if they approve you, are they going to say your invoice is due in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? That's why they look at Dun & Bradstreet, okay? Now let's go to Experian. Their business credit score is called IntelliScore Plus. That also goes from 0 to 100. And this score predicts the likelihood of serious delinquency within the next 12 months. Basically, are you going to be bankrupt in a year? So lenders look at the Experian business credit report to evaluate your business for loans and lines of credit. Do you see how the two different bureaus, their reports are looked at differently by lenders? Okay, and the last one is part of Equifax business, is the FICO Liquid Small Business Score. Okay, this one goes from 0 to 300. This one ranks the order of small businesses by the likelihood of them making payments on time, and they also look at personal and business factors. This is really, really important if you want an SBA loan or line of credit. Now, this was before COVID, right? Before COVID, SBA had all these strict requirements to get funding, right? And they look at the FICO Liquid Credit Score. They want you to have a score of 140 out of 300. Okay, so do you understand how there's 3 different business credit bureaus? Actually, there's 4. They typically go from 0 to 100, and each report is looked at differently to determine what type of lending products to give you. Okay, any questions there? Okay, so
we're all good.
Okay, good. All right. So how do you use business credit as a competitive advantage, right? 90% of the general population, they know nothing about business credit. I told you, I took business classes in college and never learned about business credit. I learned about business credit once I got in the real estate industry and saw other investors using it on their deals. That's when I found out about it. So now that you know something about it, you can use it as a competitive advantage. So it's much easier to grow a business when you have access to credit. Right. And you can start to do things. You can test stuff out. Maybe you want to do some social media ads. Maybe you want to, do some other things without risking it all. You don't want to leverage everything you got. And so business credit, you're able to do that without putting your personal finances in jeopardy. All right. So now I'm about to give you some real world examples of how big businesses use business credit. So every highly successful business in the country use business credit. And most of these companies have used business credit to get to as big as they are today. So we're going to look at the Experian trade lines for some of the top companies. All right. So this is Facebook, and this is their Experian business credit report. They have 40 trade lines reporting. Okay. Facebook has 40. Next, we're going to look at Microsoft. Microsoft has 131 trade lines reporting. And I'm going to tell you the significance of this in just a second, but I want you to see how many trade lines these big companies have. All right. Apple has 138 business trade lines reporting to Experian. And Walmart, they have 513. Why do these big companies have all these trade lines? Let me explain. It really helps you with your cash flow. So let's take Walmart as an example. Let's say they want to sell soap, right? And they contact Procter & Gamble to get some soap. Procter & Gamble agrees to give them $5,000 worth of soap, right? And they give them a net 90 account. So Walmart gets $5,000 of inventory of soap on their shelves that they don't have to pay for 90 days, okay? Let's say Procter & Gamble gave them a net 90. That means that the product is on their shelf at a wholesale price. Walmart got it for wholesale. They put their profit on top. The customers pay for it. And then they take their profit out and pay the wholesale price to Procter & Gamble. Do you see how that controls your cash flow? Imagine if you had a business where you had to order $5,000 of inventory, but you don't have to pay for it for 3 months, and the customers may pay for it before that 3 months is in. So if you think about Walmart having 513 trade lines, that means they're not paying for anything on the shelves. Imagine if you owned a store and you can put all the supplies in there for free and your customers pay for it and you pay the vendor out of that. So I hope you're starting to understand the significance of having business trade lines and how these big companies are using it for their advantage. All right, so contrary to popular belief, business credit is not just for big companies. Any company can build business credit, any company, I don't care how big or how small. And big companies, typically, they're the ones who enjoy the benefits of it because most of them have a CFO who knows how to obtain it and how to use it, where most small businesses don't, right? So you can get the same benefits that they do if you know the formula and how to get it, all right? So how do other businesses use business credit? And these are some of the examples of what they use it on. So they use it to invest in a new plant, equipment, to expand, to maintain their workforce or hire new people. They use it for inventory. They use it for research and development, payroll, employee compensation, benefits, those type of things. All right. But what I want to talk to you about is leveraging business credit, right? A lot of people get business credit and treat it like consumer debt. They go out here and fall till they fall. They got vacations. They're paying for trips. They're buying big screen TVs and cars. Like, you do not want to use business credit on depreciating assets. Okay. So cars, TVs, vacations, that's not a good use of it. So leverage is basically making money from money. How do you use this money you're going to obtain to either grow and scale your business or to build some generational wealth? Okay. So you want to use it for good debt, not bad debt. So here are some examples of how you can leverage business credit. And like I said, a lot of people teach business credit courses, but they don't tell you what to do with it when you get it. And to me, that's like the biggest and the most important piece. And so you can use it to purchase and rehab real estate. You can use it to access financing for short-term needs. You can use it to increase your company's purchase power. Remember the example I gave with Chase, giving you personally $5,000, giving the business $50,000. You can continue to expand your business while paying yourself. You can use it for working capital. If you need to maintain some inventory, you need to fulfill some emergency orders or some other sort of urgent business needs. You can use it to diversify your investment portfolio. Some people use it to buy stocks and bonds. Remember, the key is making money from money. That's how you leverage business credit. If you are not using it to support your business, grow and scale your business, or turn it into some generational wealth that leads to net income, it's not a good use of it. Okay. So I'm gonna give you a real estate example. I'm gonna give you a simple example. Let's say you got $100,000 and you want to buy a piece of property and it rents for $800 a month. You can take all of that $100,000 and put it into that property. That's going to give you $800 a month. Or you take that same $100,000 and buy 5 properties. How did you do that? Basically, you get with a lender. Okay, the lender may say, okay, put down 20%. So you take that $100,000, instead of sinking it all into one project, you put 20% down on 5 projects. Where you're putting down $20,000, the lender is financing the $80,000. So remember, the rent from each property is $800. Let's say the note, it'll be $500 because you got 5% interest with taxes and insurance, right? So you take your $800 rent, subtract your $500 note, you're gonna have $300, but you got that on 5 properties now. So you're making $1,500 a month and you're getting an 18% annual return. So this is an example of how you leverage business credit to make more money, right? You could have took the whole $100,000 and put it in one house and get, $300 net, or you can put it in a 5 and get a higher return. All right. So basically, it's time to take action, right? If you don't know anything about business credit, then you don't do anything about it. But once you know about it, you want to start taking the steps to build your company's profile. I don't want you to do like most people. Most people will wait until they need something before they fix their credit. So maybe a person wants to buy a house. That's when they decide, okay, let me fix my personal credit. Remember what I told you before. Lenders do not lend to those who need it. They lend to you when you don't. So now's the perfect time to start building your profile, getting those trade lines, and working on your business credit score. So most businesses, they can't survive long-term without some sort of credit. and it's a lot easier to grow with credit than without it. So before you start the process to build business credit, I recommend that you take the steps to make sure that your business is legitimate, right? If you don't set up your business the correct way, you're not going to get approved. You'll get automatic denials or manual overrides, which will eventually turn into denials. And so I have courses to show you exactly how to do this. So before I get into this, any questions so far?
I am not seeing any, so I think we are good. So if you do have any questions, feel free to hop in the chat and ask them, and I will make sure that they are included.
Okay, so I have 2 programs to help business owners build business credit, okay? The first program is called the Build Business Credit Membership, okay? This is a program that is going to show you how to build business credit while protecting your own personal credit, okay? So industry experts say that it takes 2 or more years to build business credit, okay? So I have reduced that time down to 6 months, okay? So I'm going to show you a fast and easy way to kind of accelerate the growth of your business and help you have access to multiple revolving lines of credit, okay? Anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000. So here's the type of credit you'll be looking at, okay? Store credit, store business credit. So retailers such as Amazon, Costco, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, and many others. Think about it. If you had business credit with these retailers, would that help your business? Fleet credit. So if you need fuel, you need repairs, you want to get credit for that, you can do that with fuel credit. Then there's the auto vehicle financing. Again, that's when you can purchase a company car with your EIN, or you can get a lease with your EIN, okay? And then the top tier, right, the revolving business credit cards that you don't have to personally guarantee. So the Visas and the MasterCards, all right? So who is this membership for? The membership is for anyone who has been rejected by the bank for a loan, right? It's for anyone that doesn't want to drain out their retirement accounts or exhaust their savings. It's for anyone that needs funding to start, grow, and scale their business or outperform the competition in their local market. And also we have experts too that's going to help you that speak in our group every single month about things that can help your business or build some generational wealth, okay? So what's included in the membership? So I have on-demand online courses with assignments to keep you on track. So I know that people have their businesses to run, they have family, they have kids, jobs, school, right? These are on-demand courses that you can take at your own pace, all right? I also have live master classes on business credit and funding. So every Saturday, 10 a.m. Central Time, I have a live master class with my students, and I walk them through the applications. I let them know what the creditor is looking for, what you need to approve, who they report to, all of that. Then you have lifetime access to our Facebook community. We have a private Facebook community of entrepreneurs all building their business credit at the same time. And then access to the much needed tools and resources for building business credit. So I give you the exclusive list of vendors and creditors, but I give it to you based on the tier that you're at. So if you're at tier 1, I'm giving you the lenders for tier 1. If you're on tier 2, I'm giving you the lenders for tier 2, and so on and so forth. Because if you skip, you will get denied, okay? But you'll have access to all of the vendors that report, all right? And so on top of that, we have the expert coaches that speak in our group as well. So if you want more information on the membership or you want to sign up, you can go on our website. So this is a $2,000 value, but there is a one-time price of $597 or 6 payments of $125 each. And because all of you are on this webinar or watching the replay, you guys will get 20% off. Okay, so whether you want to do the one-time payment of $597 or you want to do the 6 payments of $125, you can get 20% off either payment option if you sign up within the next 48 hours. And so the discount code is ANGEL20. ANGEL20. So again, this is my program where I show you how to build business credit. And again, it's a $2,000 value, but it is a one-time price of $597 or 6 payments of $125, and you can get 20% off either option. You just have to use the code ANGEL20, and you have to do it within the next 48 hours to get the 20% off. So, any questions so far?
I did not. Let me see. People said excellent info. Shonda says excellent info. Thank you. So I didn't see any questions, but I did want to let everyone know you should see at the bottom of your screen the code if you want to go ahead and secure that now. There's also descriptions in the bio that were just placed in the bio. And then I realized links in the comments are odd. So I did try to link it in the comments. It got weird. So you will see the links hyperlinked in the description right now. I just added those. So you can definitely go ahead if you want to secure those. And I did want to ask you, so we talked about the membership and the course. Now, as far as the membership, what are some of the things that some of the people who have been part of the membership previously have been able to do as a result?
Excellent question. And so my students have been able to get through the credibility steps and start establishing trade lines for their business. And so I can give you an example. I get one that texted me the other day that's like, oh, I just got my trade lines through Crown Plaza. So I'll tell you which one is the easiest one to get approved for, because there are some that's a little bit more, but I'll give you a comment that was just left on my master class. Give me that I just had. Here we go.
And while we're waiting for her to pull that up, again, if you have any questions, I am going to pull some questions. So I know some of you register and then you're not able to join us live, but you do submit your questions when you sign up. So we will go over a few of those as well. So for those who are in the replay, if you did submit a question and it wasn't already addressed, then we'll try to address that too.
Okay, so couple of things I want to share with you guys. And then I have one more product to share with you guys too.
Awesome.
But let me pull this up, my student D. Okay, so he says, thank you for your teaching and guidance. I've been on this business credit research thing for years, and finally God blessed us with you. You're the first person besides expensive ass Dion Cole, I don't know who that is, what they're talking about, and helps us each way of this journey. I can't wait for next steps. Now, another person who joined, she says, good morning. Here's where I am with my tier 1 process. Vendor 1, Summa, ordered items on 8/9, invoice paid on 8/31. Vendor 2, Strategic Solutions, ordered on 8/31, invoice to be paid on 9/25. Vendor 3, it's with WEX, applied on 8/31. And she said, I've already opened the following for the month of September. She says, I'm not going to do the Home Depot accounts because they require a virtual office. And then she says, making sure I follow every step that you provide us.
Yes.
And so just wanted to share that with you guys. But then there is another program. So if the membership is too much, you know, it is $597 or 6 payments of $125. There is a beginner course. This is a 90-minute masterclass. So these are the steps that can get you going within the next 30 days. So what's included in a 90-minute masterclass is the 4-step formula to get you started. Okay. So it talks about how to set up your business, right? How to meet the lender and creditor issue standards to get the automatic approvals, how to set up and activate your profiles with Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax, how to get the DUNS number, how to get your initial trade credit. So giving you, like she said, some of the vendors that you can go ahead and get started with. So if the membership is too expensive or something you can't do at this time, you can do the masterclass. Like I said, it's 90 minutes. It gives you the steps to get started for the next 30 days. There is a 5-page action plan included in that 90-minute masterclass. It's normally $249, but you guys can get it for $29.99. And so I think I gave you the links to that too.
So that is also in the description box as well. Yes. So
you have the membership, which is a full program that gives you the step-by-step process and walking you through the entire process from, you know, tier 1 all the way up to tier 4 with the group coaching format. The masterclass is just a beginner course. It's 90 minutes and it'll give you the steps to get going for the next 30 days. So,
yes. And I think both those products are amazing because just to have, to that earlier person's point, I forgot the client's name that you had read, their perspective, but just to be able to have like this framework broken down, because you can try to research all this stuff yourself. Like you can try to do all of these things yourself, but it's not easily accessible knowledge to be able to synthesize and put together a framework of how to get to point A to point B, or point A to point Z in this case, because that goal is to get that funding. So I think I want to thank you for even offering these programs to everyone, and especially the $29.99 program. Like definitely for people who are I know a lot of people who registered today. This all is very new. And I'll be honest, it's new for me too, for the business credit. So I'm definitely interested in at least starting with the master class and seeing what I need to do to just start this process for the next 30 days, just to get you started. Because a lot of us didn't qualify for that funding. As we talked about in the beginning, we did not qualify for those funds. There's a lot of grant programs. A lot of companies have been doing a lot of grant programs, and a lot of Black businesses especially do not qualify for those because we don't have our houses in order with our legal documents and our business credit, and being able to show proof of that so that we can get these funding opportunities. So it's so important for us. And I know most of the people who are joining are Black business owners. So it's especially important for us. And we especially have a responsibility to educate ourselves about this. So I really do thank you for taking the time to talk to us and share this information and offer access to these programs, because it's all about access. And we often don't have it, and you're presenting it, and the way you've broken it down is so simple. It wasn't super confusing. It wasn't a lot of, language that I wasn't familiar with. So I think that was helpful for people as well. And Dolores, she says, thanks for an informative session. And she wished everyone a great week. So again, if you have any questions, place them in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and just review the questions that were submitted when people registered. To see. So a lot of the questions I see is, where do I get started? So if you weren't able to join us live, and I hope you joined the replay, because you really did give a framework for at least what you need to do. And the details of how you do it are what you get when you either join the membership or do like the preliminary action of just watching the masterclass. So one of the questions was around having multiple businesses.
Yes.
And how that works for business credit, and how you keep all those entities separate and having credit for all of those entities.
The great thing about business credit is you can do it for each business. So there's no limit. You can establish it in company 1 and company 2. I have one business for real estate. I have one business that teaches business owners how to get business credit, and I have credit established in both. And so you could do the same thing. You can establish business credit with multiple companies, and then you can obtain, there's one lender out there that gives you a credit report for up to 5 companies. And so that way you'll be able to monitor the scores and the trade lines every single month. So you can definitely do it.
Yeah. So I definitely think if you are someone who has multiple businesses, probably it would be a good thing to join that membership. Join LaToya's membership, because you want to make sure everything is in place for all of those
right. And I have tools to help you keep track. Like if you just have 3 trade lines, you can mark that on a calendar and you can keep up. But once you get to about 10 to 14 trade lines, it may be hard to manage the payments, and paying on time is the most important thing. So I do have tools that just kind of help you stay organized within this whole process.
Absolutely. And I like the community aspects too, of being able to be around other business owners who are also striving for the same goals. You can also help one another and get tips and tricks from other people. I definitely know for me, it's been personally helpful, and we're part of a membership group together, and that's how we were connected. So being able to kind of bounce ideas off of other people is amazing when you're going through kind of this business process. And that's part of the reason why we have this series, is for us to create that connection. So let's see. A lot of these things were covered. So I think a lot of people do want to. We did have someone who was a real estate professional come on and speak
Okay.
a couple of weeks ago, and he talked a little bit about having different properties in different LLCs, and in relation to using that because you also do real estate as well, as you mentioned. So if you are someone who wants to get into the real estate industry, whether it be fix and flip and renting, whatever it may be, are there certain nuances to that as far as obtaining credit?
I would just say what he said is true. Getting properties in multiple LLC names. Now you need to speak to an attorney about that. But from a tax and legal standpoint, you do want to have a property in an entity. I always use the example of like an airline. So say an airline crashes, right, and people perish, and those families want to sue the airline, but they can only sue the assets as it relates to that plane because that plane is in one LLC. Each plane is in an LLC. Because if that wasn't the case, then you can sue the entire airline and they will have access to so many assets, right? So that's why you separate it, and you do the same thing in real estate to protect you from a tax and legal standpoint. Say you have a tenant who slips and falls and they get injured and they want to sue you. Well, if your company is in that entity name, then they can only sue the assets that's attached to that one property. If you had 20 properties and they're all under one entity and that person sues you, then they got access to all of the assets that's attached and not just the one asset that they lived in. So, but you want to talk to an attorney about that in terms of tax and legal strategies when it comes to real estate. But with real estate, you need funding. So business credit.
Yeah, you want to scale it for sure.
Yeah, but business credit is definitely one of the ways that you can use to help you with real estate. Like I said, I didn't use business credit to purchase. I used it for rehab. It's just my personal choice. But that's because you can purchase materials and pay your laborers through business credit.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. And there was a question, and I think I forgot. I had it in my mind. So we did talk a little bit about personal credit. It does seem like to get started, it will be advantageous for you to at least have, I think you mentioned a 720 personal credit score just for starting, whether you want to use the EIN or not.
Right. If you're building business credit with your EIN, it doesn't matter if you have good or bad credit.
Okay.
Building business credit with your EIN doesn't matter what your personal credit score is because you're building it in your EIN. If you want to get business credit now, like within 2 weeks, that's when you need to have an excellent credit score of at least 700 or more across credit bureaus. And if you're looking for that type of funding, like I said, we help entrepreneurs get that. So you can call our office, you can email us, you can go to our website and book a free consultation, and we could talk about funding options specifically for your business. So if you meet those requirements, then you can get access to that type of funding.
Okay. And then someone did mention that they did have their DUN number.
Good.
But they were struggling with maintaining their profile, keeping up with their profile. So you kind of addressed that a little bit, but I'm sure you're going to address that a little bit more.
Yeah, you have to maintain your profile. Building business credit is a process. You need to know the rules of the game in order to succeed. Having one trade line isn't going to cut it. And so you need to, know the process. And I kind of teach that process and how to maintain your profile within the programs. But the way you want to look at this is like, look at it from a lender's eyes. Like they're looking at your business credit report on paper to say, should I give you funding based on what I see? You only got one or two trade lines reporting. They're not going to give you a whole lot. Right? That's just when someone tells me, oh, I have a 700 credit score, but it's like for one store card that has a $500 limit. That's not what a lender wants to see. You managing multiple trade lines. If you had one credit card that had a $20,000 line, the lender would look at it differently. But if you got a 700 score with a low store credit card, they're not going to see you as a person they can give a bunch of money to and you're going to be responsible with. So look at your business in the same way. If you got one or two trade lines reporting, it's a nice start. It's not going to help you get funding right away.
Right.
So you have to start the process and begin to set up your trade lines, get that business credit score up. You know, you need at least 3 trade lines to get a score from Dun& Bradstreet. You need at least 1 from the other 2. So again, you want to establish your profile with multiple trade lines going through each tier so that you have an excellent business credit score, high number of trade lines reporting. Then that's when lenders and creditors look at you more seriously as a business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think so. We did have someone who asked, does it help to build your personal credit? So I think there's a little bit of a delay. So they probably got that.
Yeah, I
It's a
will.
little bit of delay when we talk about something versus when they see it on YouTube. So I think that's, yeah. They probably hadn't heard our answers yet.
Yeah, I would always recommend having great personal credit. So regardless of what happened in life, it could have been an accident. It could have been, you know, whatever. Many things can happen to affect you on the personal side. My whole philosophy is just decide that, you know, I'm going to improve this. It may take time, but it always looks good to have great personal credit and great business credit. So I'm never going to tell you just focus on your EIN. That's what I teach. However, you want to work on your personal credit too. And again, that doubles your purchase power. If you get funding on the personal side and funding on the business side, you have more capital to work with. And so my thing is, just because you might have a 500 score today, don't mean it could be 700 tomorrow. You just have to just say, okay, I faced some challenges in the past, but I'm going to work on it and just work your plan. You know, I have credit repair specialists that I recommend to people, or, you know, use whoever you feel comfortable with. And I always tell people to work on them both at the same time. It's going to take 6 months or more to build business credit. Why not work on your personal credit at the same time?
Yeah. I mean, I would think you're working on them in tandem as well.
Exactly.
Okay, I think those were, if we don't see any additional questions, I don't think I see anything extra in the comments. So I think we've addressed all the questions. I definitely think the questions that were asked when people registered, you covered most of that in your presentation. So before we wrap up, I definitely want to, for you to give an opportunity to let people know where they can find you. We do have all the links in the description. Oh, wait, we have a question.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so Keon, I think I'm a little confused with your question. So with opening your business credit and not having your personal credit open, can it force your opposing account to open? I don't know if I understand that question.
Is he asking whether one would affect the other?
Maybe. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe if you can rephrase that, I'm not.
If you separate your business from you personally,
they're completely separate things.
They're completely separate. So like, let's say you have a business credit profile established and you got a great score, but you got to file business bankruptcy. That's not going to show up on your personal side, and vice versa.
Right.
So on the personal side, you had to file a personal bankruptcy for whatever reason. That doesn't affect you on the business side. So when you successfully separate your business and your personal, if there's a negative thing that happens, it's not going to affect the other. But you got to separate the two to do that. And when I mean separate, I mean your entity has to be a LLC, a C Corp, or LLC, C Corp, or S Corp. You have to have a business bank account, and you have to not commingle, right? You don't want to be using your business bank account for Uber Eats, right? You want to keep it strictly separate, because in the future, if a lawsuit was to ever happen and they see all of this mixing of business and personal, the judge can say you were piercing the corporate veil, you weren't treating your business like a business, and therefore, you know, judgment for the plaintiff. So it is very important that you keep it both separate. And I mean that, like, keep it both separate. Don't mix it in any way, shape, or form. That's how the lenders, creditors, courts, that's how they see you as a legitimate business. So keep it separate. And if something negative happens in either one, it doesn't have to affect the other. If that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I would suggest, Keon, that you rewatch the presentation, and she does cover that earlier in her presentation about the 2 ways that you can start business credit. One being using your personal personal SSN, social security number, and then the other just using your EIN. So she does talk about the different routes you would go for either one. So I would definitely advise you to catch that replay, which I think you can rewind now to catch that piece. Alrighty, so yes, so let's talk about where people can find you, what you have coming up next. I know we're in, oh my God, almost October. So what do you have going on for the rest of the year, and where best should people go to contact you?
Well, thank you for having me. Very happy to speak with your audience. Thank you for all the questions and the comments. I appreciate all of that. Again, the company is called Excel Capital Group. We help entrepreneurs get funding, whether that is obtaining financing. Maybe you want to get business credit cards, business lines of loans. We can help you with that. And we also teach you how to build business credit with your EIN through our membership and through our masterclass. So be sure to follow us on social media. You can find Excel. Yes, I'm here. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. We do have a YouTube channel. We have Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn. Again, I do videos on business credit and funding on Facebook. So if you have questions about, what can you do with business credit? What's a DUNS number? SBA stuff. I've done videos on all of that stuff that you can find on our business Facebook page. And again, if you want a consultation because you're looking for funding for your business, you could just go to our website and schedule a free consultation. Again, if you're interested in the membership or the masterclass, remember the special pricing ends in 40 hours again. And you can go to our website and join the email list. I send an email list. I send a newsletter out once a week, every week, with information on grants, loans, and all types of funding opportunities so that you don't miss out on the funding. Like I said, I just won a $4,000 grant last week myself. So I'm speaking from
congratulations.
Thank you. Awesome. I got it from the Urban League, and it works. And if I didn't have my stuff set up the correct way, they could give it to someone else. So speaking from experience, but yeah, you can follow me on social media. You can go to our website. You can join our email list. You can call our office. You can email me. You're more than welcome to reach out. We are definitely here to help you. In terms of what I got going on tomorrow, I will be on Instagram Live. So if you join Excel Capital Group on Instagram, starting at 6:30 Eastern Time tomorrow, I will be participating in an Instagram series, and that is called, hold on, I got a couple engagements.
Look it up. It's okay, because you had this today and then you have that tomorrow. So you have to keep up with both things.
Yeah, it's called Beautifully Rooted in Business. Beautifully Rooted in Business. And so it's going to be 5 women speaking on Instagram Live this week, every day at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So I'm going to talk tomorrow about business credit and funding. There's going to be someone talking about relationships and operating a business on Tuesday. Wednesday, it'll be doing business with God the way he intended it. And the last day would be the power of credit and branding yourself. So that's tomorrow on Instagram Live. Again, that's called the Beautifully Rooted in Business. And then next month, I will be speaking at an event. It's called the ICANN. Well, it's not called ICANN, but it's sponsored by ICANN Collective. It's called African Kings and Queens on American Soil. That is here in Chicago. That is going to be October 24th. And I'll be speaking about business credit and funding there. And so that's what I have coming up. But I'm very excited. And this has been an amazing year. And like I said, if anybody needs help with building business credit with their EIN or talking about funding for their business, feel free to reach out to me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then I will be remiss in reminding you that if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe to the channel. This is where the live stream will live. And LaToya may also upload it on her YouTube channel as well, which is linked below. And go ahead and click the notification bell. So if you happen to miss an email from me, you will get a notification when our new live streams are available. So again, thank you so much for joining us, LaToya. Thank you all who were able to join us live and on the replay. And LaToya, if you want to hang tight, I'll go ahead and end the broadcast, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.